Hey guys, I'm Lex.
I'm Brig.
You guys already knew that, I'm sure.
Yep.
So DFS today, and then replication of our repositories.
Yes.
This will help people out when you've got wide area networks to keep the traffic down across the WAN.
Yep.
Let's jump right in. There's a lot to cover.
There is.
So first of all, we've got a couple of videos out on how to do DFS in under 10 minutes. So we're not going to go really deep into it. We'll just do a little overview on it. So at this point, we have gone to the server manager, picked a local server, we're adding a role. Again, I just want to show you what we selected. Make sure when you come in here, you need to do it 2 separate times on your 2 servers, your main file server and your secondary.
Yep.
So on the main file server, make sure you have namespaces and DFS replication both selected. We've already done this. Click through this, do your next.
Yep.
By the time this is all installed, you need to go onto the other server and do just the replication. Okay, so at this point, you've got it installed. We fired up the DFS management, and what you need to do at this point is make some namespaces. So we've already done this. I'm just going to kind of walk you through. You would right-click under namespace,
Yep.
do a new namespace, server, and since I know where the server name is, it's we tried this yesterday. I couldn't type for the life of me, right?
Well, I blame the keyboard.
Well, let's blame the keyboard. I'm with you there.
We just swapped that keyboard out. Used to be a wireless, now it's wired.
Okay.
Why are you blaming the keyboard?
So if I actually typed that right, which I think I did.
Yay.
Okay, so the namespace, what's important about this? This is what you're actually going to be calling in your UNC path. Yep. So our domain, because we're going to do a domain namespace, is web.pdq.com, and whatever I put here is what we're going to call. I've already set up deploy, but just so you guys can see this, we're just going to do deploy 1 so that we can roll through this. Okay. Again, we're going to do a domain based, so we're just going to click next through this. There's your summary of what you're going to do. At this point, if I hit create, it would create that, but we've already done this, so I'm not going to do that. We're going to, and it'll create this namespace right here. Now, at this point, we're going to also want to create some shares that we're going to replicate. My suggestion is build those shares prior and set your permissions early on that so you can inherit the permissions. Yep. Any thoughts on that, Brig?
No, that was a question I asked you yesterday. Like, so with DFS, when I set that, do I set the NTFS permissions first and then that'll just carry over?
Yeah.
That is.
Again, set that up early. We set up a folder called, on the C drive, called PDQ repository. Surprise, surprise, right? So we got a DFS called deploy, and we got our share spaces PDQ repository. Now you need to make sure you do that on both servers. So you'll notice I've got the blue background server. You can't really see the background. There it is. And then the gray background server, or is that black?
Yep.
Black. Anyway, the dark color.
It's gray.
Okay, it's gray.
You're not that colorblind.
Yeah. I mean, you're not gray blind.
You guys are just mean. Okay. Anyway, so you get those shares set up. Okay, at this point, you're going to want to build a replication.
Yep.
Okay. So again, the nice thing about this is pretty easy. You hit right,
happens.
right-click on replication, do a new replication group. Okay. Ease of things, guys. Take the multi-purpose replication. You want to name the replication group. I named it repo for repository. This is where you'd put that in here. We're just going to call this repo 1 because I don't want to do this twice. You'll notice the domain it's going to run under right there. And you hit next. Is this a good time to take a question?
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Dear Lex and Brig, are there any good do's and don'ts in adding a server to an existing replication group, and is it better to enable all folder targets or keep some of them disabled? Sincerely, Davor B.
Okay, I can say some things you should be aware of. I don't know, do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
If you do build a replication folder that exists on the secondary server and there happens to be data in the secondary, when you replicate, when you call the main server, it's going to replicate nothing. It's going to blow away what's on the secondary server. So be aware of that. What else you run into?
As far as like folder targets, and to keep some of them disabled, you can enable all of them. You can set the scheduling, and we're going to go over that briefly about how you can do that. But one thing that you do want to be aware of with how DFS works is it uses RDC, remote differential compression. It's very smart. So you can enable those targets and they will replicate. But if they haven't replicated over to the local, it will fail over and access the other members.
The remote
for that
instance.
information. So you really don't need to worry about that.
Best bet, set your permissions correct at the user level is where I would do that.
Yeah, and you could also pre-seed your database and the data on the other servers, and that's actually a really fast way of doing things. So you can do like 100 gigabytes in just a few minutes, rather than having to wait for days.
Excellent.
Yep.
So at this point, we're back to adding our servers for our replication group. DFS 01-web. Thank goodness we made this easy. Check names. I always check the names because I'm the worst typist in the world.
Do just the opposite.
What?
I just type v-dfs02 and hit enter.
02. Okay, check the names. So these are the guys we're going to add to our replication group.
Yep.
We hit next. Okay, full mesh and no topology. Guys, just go with full mesh.
Full
okay?
mesh,
Just
always.
don't.
I mean, unless you have a specific reason that you can't do full mesh, always go full mesh.
Yeah. Okay, replication bandwidth. I'm just going to blow past this as full bandwidth. Brig will help you out with the scheduling of that. Personally, I think my stuff's more important than everybody's, so yeah. Well, you know, take up all the bandwidth.
Is
from
there
my
a
stuff.
higher option than full?
Is there a higher option than full? It's called Lex.
All.
All the bandwidth.
Okay, at this point, you got to pick the primary server. And remember what I told you. If you are replicating folders and there's data in the secondary, not the primary is going to, odds are,
It's going to go away.
80% of the time, it blows it away 100% of the time.
It can go into conflict and deleted, but I have yet to see that.
Yeah, so just be aware, guys.
Yeah.
So we'll pick DFS 01. We'll hit next. And this is where we pick the folders we are going to replicate. So browse at this level. There's PDQ repository. Now, the great thing about this, if I try to replicate this again, it's going to say there's already a replication group set up. Okay, so for this sake, I'm just going to grab, perf logs. I wouldn't suggest you really replicate it, but so that we can walk through this, you can see what we're doing. Okay, you hit next. Okay, we're now going to go and edit the secondary server, all right? Because we need to enable it and then also add the folder that you want to replicate there. And at this point, here's the summary of what we just did.
Yep.
It's a good idea to read that.
Yes.
If you're illiterate like me,
And
you
normally-
just hit next and rock on through.
Yeah,
But-
normally with a lot of things, you can just go ahead and just kind of like, the summary, I know exactly what I did. I would recommend doing this, especially if you're choosing a primary server and this is your first replication. Kind of going back to what Lex was doing before, with your primary server, remember, that only lasts until after the initial replication. Then in a full mesh topology, all servers are treated equal. So initial replication has a primary server, but then after that replication is over, they're all the same. There's no primary member, secondary member, tertiary member, they're all equal. So if you put data here, it goes over here, here, and everywhere else. So just to kind of it's a good thing to look at the summary and realize that that's how the server structure works.
Okay, and then the last thing on this, I just canceled out of that because we've got repo here. You want to go and publish your replicated folders at this point. Right click and allow it to publish so it becomes available. At this point, replication should be running. So if you were to go to your replicated folder and call the namespace, which would be web.pdq.com/deploy is the namespace, UNC,
If you spell it correctly.
dpoly.
Polly.
Probably.
Yeah, network problem. Sud. Brig, you want to type that? Because I can't. So you go to dpoly. There it is right there. Web PDQ.
Yeah, I think that is great.
There we go. All right, so at this point, we could drop a file in here. I'm just going to drop, for the sake of a test, we'll drop a text document called test, and we'll put 1 for site 1, I guess.
Look at I can't even type that.
You type just like I do. Okay.
Keyboard, I'm telling you.
We ought to go over here and replication. There it is, test.
Yep.
And then you can go in here and make alterations to it and see that it is replicating back and forth.
And for those of you that don't know, DFS replication is really cool. Instead of actually copying over the entire changed file, it only does just the
change
deltas.
deltas. Yeah.
Yep, so you could have a 50 gigabyte file, change something in it, and it only transfers over a few kilobytes.
Okay, so
very nice.
at this point, we know it's working, despite my poor typing. So at this point, Brig, you want to talk about affinity? You want to talk about scheduling?
Yep.
Hit it from here?
Yeah, let's go.
But should take a question first.
Oh yeah, let's get a question.
All right.
Yes.
Dear Lex and Brig, When deploying with PDQ and DFS with multiple offices, can you check or force the computer to download from the site where they are in and not their home site? Computer/user is in AD site A, but in office/site B when you deploy, causing a large deploy to be pulled from office A. This is for laptop users who go between offices. Sincerely, Dustin M.
All right, so the assumption here, let's see, computer is site A, but office site B when you deploy,
So-
causing a large deploy. Okay,
Okay, so this, I just want to make sure we understand.
Okay.
Laptop leaves site A, goes to site B, and gets a network connection at site B.
Yep.
Okay.
okay. So if there's a DC, there's a domain controller in site B and site A, and it moves from one to the other, and it's getting DHCP address from A to B, it should be pulling down from B. So the assumption is that it's going to be there. Now, there can be some difficulties if you don't have a DC there, because then it will just go to wherever the location may possibly be. So one thing that you can do is you can force DFS to actually do that. And actually, I'm going to show you.
We'll do it right now.
Yeah. All right. So let's see.
So what are you selecting at this point?
Okay, I'm right-clicking our DFS repository. You can actually also do this on the namespace itself. You can just go down to Properties and Referrals. Now, the default, the way that DFS handles replication and how it gives out information to clients or targets is by using the ordering method. And lowest cost is a tried and true algorithm. It works very, very well. It uses DCs to be able to locate where that lowest cost is.
My suggestion, and just to interject
Yes.
here, is leave it.
Yeah,
Okay, leave it.
But in these particular instances, you can change it to exclude targets outside of the client site. So you could basically force that, force them to go to wherever it is that you think that they should go, and then click on that so they fall back to their preferred, if that's the case.
All right. Well, that
That's
takes
it.
us right into
Pretty much it.
like affinity there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that would be our affinity issue. So it's possible to do that. Again, DHCP Active Directory, that's the one that decides where those targets are going to, or which server they're going to use. All right, and
So let's talk about bandwidth.
Sure.
Scheduling bandwidth.
okay, let's do scheduling first. Oh, actually,
don't do
that
it
was
there.
right. Sorry. Yes, you do.
Oh, you do
It's
it
down
there.
here. Yeah, there's a couple of places that you could do this because you could do it individually or you can do it all together. But now, if you're not like Lex or me, and you decide that user data is actually kind of important, you can actually come in here and schedule. So from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and it is a click and drag option. So you don't want to just click individual boxes. So it operates a little differently than other schedules do. So you want to do it this way, and then just select how much bandwidth you want to take up. And 1 megabit's good. I don't know.
So you get like kind of a slow during the day, and then at the end of the day, boom.
Yep.
Send
So
everything
that-
across.
Yeah, so DFS replication is not going to take over, cat videos and Spotify and all of the other things that are
Those are
streaming
very
across.
important.
Yes,
The
very
important
important
things,
things. Productivity enhancers. So, yes, that's what this is for. So that's basically it as far as scheduling goes. And we're just going to cancel out of that because we're not actually going to. We don't worry about things like that here.
Okay, so basically that's DFS. Do we have any other DFS questions
Yeah.
before we show you how to move your repository for replication? Okay, so at this point we got DFS set up and in deploy. Okay, so in deploy we're going to go to our preferences. Now, here's the thing. If you can use DFS to replicate, the nice thing about it, it's going to put those packages out on your DFS file shares. You need to be able to call them from that namespace we just created. So you would do that, right?
Yes.
You want to drive?
Sure.
So you go to Preferences. You would go to Repository. Oh, before we do that, let's download some packages so we can see what happens when you move stuff.
Let's do that.
So let's go grab like 7-zip.
Let's just look at everything. Development tools. Let's look at the package
Grab
library. Just click everything.
7-zip, grab Flash.
For IE, of
I
course.
don't care.
Best
Just
thing ever.
something small, something easy. Bandazip,
Band
BG
zip.
Info.
Okay, BG info.
Hey, look, it's the webcast we're in right now.
It's the webcast, right?
Up in the right-hand corner.
All right, and what's it? We decided Mozilla or something like that. Something a little bit larger.
Grab Firefox.
It's in there somewhere. There we go.
Okay, give an import selected. Okay, so these are now located, and we'll pull up our repository, and this is where these are going to be located, right here.
Yep.
Okay, so at this point, we're now going to change the repository variable. Okay, you can see the repository variable in basically two places. One, right under repository, and two, under variables. So if you look right here, that's what the repository variable equals.
System tab.
So we are going to change the repository variable to our new namespace. I'm going to let you drive, bro.
All right.
So in this case, we web.pdq.com/deploy. And then PDQ or repository.
All right. Oh,
And then
did I do that right? Yep.
looks good.
Maybe.
Give it an okay.
Okay. We don't. There is no okay. It's just a close.
All right.
Now you'll notice something here. Uh-oh.
You now have warning sign on all your
Yep.
on all your packages. Before we go any further, let's take another question.
Okay.
Dear Lex and Brig, if you have DFS issues not syncing, where are the best places to look for diagnostics? Sincerely, Sean, uppercase G.
Sean G.
Sean G. Well, there are a lot of tools. There are some great PowerShell tools, as Kristen knows about, and yes, probably the best thing to do is run a health report.
Health report?
Yep, health report.
Can you show them where we get the health report at?
I can do that.
While they're looking for that, this is PowerShell. Just open up a PowerShell prompt and do git dash command and do star DFS star, and you can get all of the commandlets related to DFS.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, and just to kind of go over this too, so this is the diagnostic reporter test, so you can run a health report, propagation test, propagation report. Just remember health. Basically choose the basic, include all the members, count backlogged files in this report. That's always a good idea, just so you can see what's in there and what's not replicating.
There's
And
your
then correct
summary.
that.
It'll generate your report,
Yep.
and then you can see how far out of sync it can be or is.
Click through that nightmare, and pretty much basically, there you go.
Drag that bad boy in the center. There you go.
And then
So
you
right
can
now,
just
because we
show
really
up.
don't have anything there, we
Yeah.
have no errors, no warnings, but this is where you would see those things.
Yep.
And you'd be able to start going after those to fix them.
Yep. And it provides pretty detailed information about what's
really
going
does.
on, what files. And then you can use the DF management tools, either PowerShell or the commands, to check replication, things like that. So yeah, this will be your first starting point, and then you can move on to actually like seeing what the sync issues are. But typically it's usually a file or a database issue, which you can just rebuild the database. So
Should we hit another question?
sure, absolutely.
Dearest Lex and Brig, when hosting the repository on a DFS, will the targets know or will be able to download from the closest/fastest site? Sincerely, Nick W.
Yes.
Nick W., that is a definite. We're going to show you how to do that right now.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
to answer your question, let's bounce back here and finish our move.
Okay.
And then we'll show you how to change that.
Yep.
So at this point, you'll notice these guys right here have now all turned into warning signs. And that's because it's looking for the install files on the replicated folder that we just made and not there and not locally. So we need to copy those from our local repository to the DFS repository. You want to hit it?
Yeah. So
Okay, now something to think about when you're doing this, okay? So if you're copying big files, it's going to take a little time to sync from DFS1 to DFS2, your second site. So if you're copying big files and you decide you want to deploy, it might be a good idea to wait
yeah.
till these all replicate out before
Yes.
you deploy. Otherwise, they're going to start pulling from across your WAN again as opposed to
Yep. So if you're going to do Office, just make sure that you do plan in advance.
Yeah.
Let that replicate over.
replicate for a day, give it some time.
Okay.
So you just copied this to our new folder.
Yep.
And boom, there's our stuff.
Yep, they're good.
Now, the second part, and this is to answer your question, to get it to actually pull from the local DFS repository, you need to go change where it's grabbing from a push to a pull. This is paramount. If you don't do this, you're basically just wasting your
Yeah,
time.
you're going to be doing the exact same thing. It'll just pull from that file share from local and send it out. So you definitely want pull. And to kind of go to your other part that you were talking about, DFS, again, the algorithm, closest neighbor or lowest cost, very, very efficient. So once you've set this up and it starts accessing those shares, that's all AD at that point. So it's good.
Okay, the difference between push and pull, I just want to put this out.
Yep.
In a push, you would copy to the console. From the console, you go out to the target. In a pull, the console sends instructions to the target, grab it from your new namespace, which is your DFS. That's how you get it from your local DFS at that point.
Yep.
So that's that. Do we have any more questions, or should we deploy something from our new repository?
Let's go deploy.
All right, 7-zip. Who's been messing with me lately?
Josh.
Josh? All right. What's Josh's machine's name?
I don't know.
You know what?
Hey,
Let's
hey, stay out of my machine.
stay out of Josh's machine. I got to be nice to him because you know what?
Because he's watching and
he's
has
got the
rights
keys to the
over him.
kingdom,
That's
so
right,
he
he
can
does.
mess with me too.
There's
so.
that too.
All right. These are pull deployments. Boom. They're going to run. And again, they're going to be pulling from our DFS repository.
Yeah.
Wow, we covered a lot
This
really
is
fast.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Do we got more questions?
Yeah, we can take another question.
Okay.
And we have another question from Sean Uppercase G. As an alternative to DFS, would you recommend or not recommend something like Dropbox as a centralized repo?
I don't think, not only do we not recommend doing that, but I don't even think that that's going to work because that's not going
You
to
gotta
have
talk
the
up, my
necessary.
brother.
Oh, I don't think that's going to have the necessary SMB Active Directory sort of. You're not going to be able to authenticate.
Okay. Authentication.
Yeah.
You got to be able to can you call a UNC path for that? I guess if you share the local folder, you might be able to.
Yeah, you might be able to. Yeah, if you share the local folder, yeah, you would.
Okay,
yeah,
so then
could do
you'd have
that.
to set permissions at your local folder level. I don't think that's a good. I personally, I don't think it's a good idea to do it. I think you may
could.
You
but
could
it
do
doesn't
it, yeah.
mean you probably should.
Yeah,
there's,
yes, you
other
can.
other best
Chris?
practices.
Do you have anything to pipe in on that, buddy?
Yeah.
From a PowerShell perspective, I've actually seen a Dropbox provider for PowerShell to be able to kind of mount a PowerShell location as like a mounted space inside PowerShell. So doing that, I actually, on the far side of your guys' opinion, say, why not?
You could do it with PowerShell. Yeah. Everything.
I'm
get
actually
a hammer.
wanna play
Everything
around
looks
with
like a
that.
nail.
Well, you know,
So,
now that I'm thinking about it, because you do
Okay.
have that, Dropbox folder
okay.
on there. Yeah, try it out.
The world is your oyster. Give it a
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
Why not?
Curiosity, exactly.
Why?
I'm,
Either way.
I'm changing my position.
You're
to-
changing your position. Really?
to a solid no. Why would you ever do that to?
Maybe.
Why not?
Try it. Tell us what you find out.
I actually want to try that.
Are you gonna try it?
I want to try
think I'm
it.
gonna
Yeah.
do
That'd be
the other
interesting.
There probably are answers to the why not.
I'm sure there are.
Well,
Well,
I
I don't
wanna
think it's
find
the
out
best
what those
practice,
are.
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to gamble with your production, by all means, go ahead. If
But
you're
Sean,
testing, go ahead.
That's a
Yeah.
good question.
That is a good
I
one.
want to try that out.
So-
Test that out.
Maybe we'll do a webcast or a video on something like that.
Video
Yeah,
on how to try and do that with Dropbox.
Strange things that you can
Dropbox,
do.
PowerShell. Yeah.
Chris, do you have any like pearls of wisdom for PowerShell and DFS? I mean, I'm happy to come sit where you are and drink and enjoy if you want to talk some PowerShell, man.
The biggest ones, here, I'll come show you.
Okay. Brick, it's you and Chris now, man.
Okay. Wonder Twin powers activate.
Huzzah! Okay, so
I'm assuming you want this.
yeah, that's a great one to have. So here, the biggest thing is that's
Make
gigantic.
that tiny.
Yeah.
So large.
We had PowerShell. Okay, so without going into too many details for the different commands, well, the one thing I want to do, if I might switch.
I'm going to switch.
So, kind of what I was shouting out there for people, if they heard a little bit ago, is apparently this one has no DFS tools on here,
yeah.
so this
Oh.
is the wrong machine to actually use it
Let's
on.
go
so-
into that one. Yep. It'll be.
All right, we'll open PowerShell. That's command prompt that needs to change. For the record, you can actually change this on Windows 10. So here we go. So in here, in PowerShell, you want to get a quick overview of DFS stuff. Just use the git command, which normally will get you all the commandlets in PowerShell for everything, right? It's fantastic, but that's a lot. So if you just want anything specific to DFS, here you go. Use these, take a look at them. We don't have much time today to actually cover it. We might cover it in a blog post or something to actually kind of give a little more detail and examples of this. But all the settings that they set, you can set from PowerShell, which means you can absolutely automate this. So I say run with it. It's fantastic. I go with it. So
There's a lot of commands out there.
Yeah.
Now, is there a way that they can get a summary with this
a summary of.
of what the commands do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Go here. You can use the git help command for particular ones.
Perfect.
So let's say we have a command here for get DFSR member. We can say git help get, if I can use this keyboard, apparently that's a running gag. And you can actually see
Is the keyboard
help
that
for
bad?
I think it's the nut behind the keyboard personally.
So
That's what makes there's 3 nuts.
So I was gonna say that's all. We're 3 for 3 here.
3 for 3. All of us can't type for
yay!
Yeah.
So in here, you can use the Get Help commandlet to go get help for this. If you haven't used Get Help before, you have to actually go download the help files from the internet, which is what it's doing right now. It'll get that. It'll have everything from examples to the full description to how you use it, as well as everything that's online. You can pull it from online, use that, learn about the commandlets, and go to town.
I got to tell you guys, Chris is doing this on the fly. I just pulled him in. He hasn't had a chance to do any of this. So yeah, Chris,
I'm sweating.
Awesome.
That was pure
That was
on talent.
epic, man.
That's good. That's good.
Nicely done. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, we can throw one up.
All right.
Yeah.
And our final question of the day, if we've already created a DFS share between 2 sites previously, how easy is it to add a third into the mix? Sincerely, Bryce H.
A third share or a third server or a third site?
A third into the mix. Okay. A third folder, pretty easy. A third site, also pretty easy. You just basically, Chris is saying how you do it in PowerShell.
Yeah.
You're such a nerd, dude.
It's
I
so
love it.
great.
I love it. Honestly, go back into your replication folders. You can go add another replication folder there, a replication site or server. Make sure you add it to the namespace first, obviously, but this is where you would go do that.
Yep.
So you'd add it right there. So
So
yeah,
site-
you can do it. It's not
Site easy?
Site easy, folder
Easy?
easy,
Yeah.
PowerShell not so easy.
Yeah.
It's so much more fabulous.
Yeah, okay. I may have
Get
to
to
agree
Chris.
with you on that one, but so that's pretty much it. Unless we got any more questions,
We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
are we good?
Excellent.
All right. Well, guys, so DFS replication, Chris, ad hoc, at the moment. I love it.
Yes.
Sick that you know all that, man. And I appreciate you guys watching.
Yep. Thank you very much.
We'll catch y'all later.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Big congratulations going out to Sean, uppercase G, and Nick W. Winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. We'll get that sent out to you ASAP. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll see you back here next week.